The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals has made a decisive ruling that overturned a lower court judge's order which had previously blocked the federalization of the National Guard, a decision that now enables President Trump to deploy troops to Portland, Oregon. This development represents not only a significant legal shift but also a politically charged moment in the ongoing debate over the limits of federal authority and states' rights. The original injunction had been issued by a district judge who argued that the president's attempt to federalize the National Guard could infringe upon the constitutional powers reserved to individual states. However, the appellate court's reversal suggests a broader interpretation of executive authority, particularly in situations where national security or domestic unrest is at stake. The Ninth Circuit panel, in its majority opinion, emphasized that the federal government possesses the right to intervene when local and state measures appear insufficient to maintain order and protect federal property. In recent months, Portland had become a flashpoint for large-scale protests and civil unrest, with reports of property damage, clashes between demonstrators and law enforcement, and mounting tension between local officials and federal agencies. The White House had previously expressed frustration over what it characterized as a lack of effective response from city and state leaders, arguing that the deployment of federalized National Guard troops was necessary to restore peace and stability. The court's ruling effectively grants the president the power to activate and command National Guard units under federal status, which differs from their usual state-controlled structure. Legal analysts are calling this decision a potential turning point in how the balance of power between state governments and the federal executive branch is understood, especially in matters involving law enforcement and public safety. Critics, however, warn that this move could set a dangerous precedent by allowing the federal government to override state autonomy under the pretext of national interest. Civil rights advocates have voiced concerns that such deployments, particularly in politically sensitive regions, could escalate tensions rather than resolve them. They point to prior incidents where federal agents' involvement in local protests led to accusations of excessive force and violations of civil liberties. The Ninth Circuit's decision has reignited debate over the scope of presidential authority under the Insurrection Act and other federal statutes that govern the use of the National Guard. Supporters of the ruling argue that it provides the necessary tools for the federal government to protect lives and property when local responses fail. They contend that the situation in Portland had reached a point where intervention was unavoidable and that the president acted within his constitutional duty to ensure the enforcement of federal law. Following the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals' decision to overturn the lower court's injunction and allow the federalization of the National Guard, MSNBC anchor Katy Tur sat down with legal correspondent Lisa Rubin to unpack the far-reaching implications of this ruling. The conversation unfolded in the familiar cadence of breaking news coverage, measured, probing, and deeply